I'm joined tonight by Susan Snyder, who is, I have to read, the Total Learning Institute, and Allison Logan. Welcome.
Thank you.
One of the things that most impressed me about what I saw in the classroom and the way your program runs is so many people say, the children must come first, we must do whatever we can to put the children first, but you actually live it completely and totally in your program. And so we're going to go into some detail about that. But just in the nutshell for our listeners, what is total learning? What makes it different than what's going on?
So total learning is a school change model. It's fashioned after Head Start. So Head Start is in preschool, but the supports that are provided for a child in preschool, especially for a child who lives in poverty, if we can bring them up into the elementary school and provide the child with those supports as they come up, and especially since there are so many children who have not gone to preschool, who come into kindergarten.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we are aiming to reduce the achievement gap in the BridgePort schools, and especially for children who live in poverty, to provide them with all of those supports that will allow them to be learners.
One of the big things that is a theme in Bridgeport when people talk about the schools and what's wrong with the schools, it comes out the parents aren't involved enough. And there are two ways to make parents involved, and that is you force them to come, or they're in a suburban school where they have free time to come and be involved. So what struck me as pretty amazing is you've been in Cesar Batalla for 7 years. You work with ABCD, funded by the state. So talk about how a child that you identify as being in need, what is your approach to get the parents involved, the families involved? What exactly is available to you for help?
That's a great question. In our schools, in total learning, there's a lot of different components of total learning. So we have the professional development that happens in the classroom for the teacher, and we also have family workers and mental health caseworkers, and all of those supports work together to create a really safe environment for the child. So if the child is having issues at home, we have family workers that come into the classroom and work on those issues and contact the parents and work on those issues, and also find services through ABCD to help that family come along so that child can come to school ready to learn.
So I believe you shared one instance where it was a matter of they didn't have socks for the child to wear to school.
Exactly.
The families were having problems finding help to pay utility bills and heating bills and food. And so you can actually have people in place who can show them where a food pantry is, what sort of programs are available to them.
Exactly.
So when you go into the families, you work with the families, you assess, you help them find the services they need so their child can come to school fed, clothed. Does that, in most cases, do you see the parents then coming to the school and being more involved in the education?
We actually do parent meetings once a month. We do coffee talks, and the parents come and we share what we do in the total learning classrooms, and we provide them more services and outlets for services. The parents actually who are not part of total learning classrooms, part of our model classrooms anymore, who have a family worker, still come to those meetings.
Still come to the meetings
because they really like the support that it gives to them, and it actually teaches the parents. I help teach the parents how to read with their children, how to play with their children, and how to interact with their children as well, which a lot of them struggle with.
Well, I've had 3 children. There are days I struggle with that too. So but I wasn't living in poverty, and my children were not living in poverty, so I didn't have the basic needs not being met that a lot of the children in the Bridgeport school systems that you work with.
But take one step back, because we have never met a parent who didn't care about their child,
Right.
who didn't believe in their child and then want the best for their child. So just because a family is not in the best of circumstances doesn't mean that the parents don't care for the kids. They just need help. They need strategies. So it's not a matter of beating anybody up. It's really supporting.
No, you're absolutely correct, because I have always argued that they do care. I don't know a parent that doesn't care. And yes, there are issues with depression and drug abuse and not having money, but all of those things is something that your program assesses, take it into account, and help people work through. So as far as I'm concerned, when Bridgeport says parents need to be involved, you do intervention and outreach to see what they need so that they have the ability to be more fully involved.
And the difference with being involved and being supported, I think, are two different things.
Yeah.
Because having a parent be involved in the classroom, if they don't feel supported in the home, and if they can't physically get out and come to the school, and that's what our program also provides for them. It's that support that they need to be able to become involved in the classroom.
And then a lot of times they don't have to move. They don't have to leave. So the child
Right.
stays
Right.
in the school. We provide a stable environment, so then the child is able to succeed.
It's excellent. So I know the schools have whiteboards, and for those of you who don't know, whiteboard is essentially a big white board that the teacher can log in on the computer, and it plays on the whiteboard large enough for all of the students to be able to see. So when you talk about digital, I know I've seen teachers use the whiteboards in the school. I didn't see your program do it. So explain what digital total learning is going. What's going on there?
Total learning digital. Well, let's step back for a second and just say, total learning, we had trainers who went into the classrooms and worked with the teachers and provided them with professional development for an entire year,
Right.
and then support. It's very expensive. So, for example, when Paul Vallis came to see the program, he said, this is a really, really wonderful program, but it's too expensive.
Right.
So he said, well, let's see what we can do to reduce the cost.
Right.
And by digitizing what we could about the professional development for the teacher, giving the teachers game-like things that they could do
Right.
to learn the strategies, giving them the lessons so that they could teach it, giving them video of those lessons so they could do it. And then when they need help, they go on their computer, and we have our computers wherever we happen to be.
Right.
And we work with the teacher and the children at the same time and provide that professional development in the classroom on the smart board.
On the smart board.
Now,
So yeah.
so we thought, okay, we're saving money. But what we didn't realize was we were making something that was magic for the kids. When the kids look at it, first they think they're watching television. Then
Right.
the person who's on the smart board is
true.
saying, but she can see me and she's telling me what I'm doing and she's asking me questions and she's responding to me. And there's a kind of magic that makes the kids attend more.
Yes.
They're digital natives. And then the teacher is seeing, and the teacher is there, so it's a very much of a team effort, because there are things that we can't do on the smart board. There's things that the teachers need to hold up. There's
Right,
things that the
right.
teachers need to do. So it engages the teachers even more. It's become, what we thought was just saving a little bit of money has really become quite a brilliant a way of delivering professional development and instruction to the children at the same time.
So you've been in Cesar Batalla School for 7 years, and how many classrooms total have you in 7 years been in? Is it 4 classrooms a year?
We're 5 classrooms a year.
5 a year, okay.
So over kindergarten through grade 4, we've touched every grade
Wow.
through kindergarten through grade
And so the teachers that have worked with you, how have you been received? What's the feedback you get from them?
The first thing the teachers say is that this is highly motivating, not only for themselves, but for the kids as well. Another thing that they say is that we use multimodal activities, hands-on, brains-on, powdering the brain for learning, all that kind of stuff that kids normally do anyways. We use that in the classroom, and the teachers say, the kids are having fun. That I'm having fun. I'm having fun teaching again. So using all of that stuff that's fun for kids, but also delivering their curriculum at the same time, and it's highly, highly motivating for the kids and themselves.
It's very amazing, because when I sat through and observed the classroom, and I also volunteer in a kindergarten class, and I'm going to see if I can do this right, but one of the words they were learning was echo. And so you showed them echo is not just saying the same word, it's also how you say it, and then can you do it by moving, which moved them into statue, and what does a statue mean? And then you brought up the book, and they made statues out of what they were reading, and it caused them to talk about the book they were reading. You echoed physical movements. What a difference, because those kids were completely engaged. They didn't know they were learning. So that's one, and getting a kindergarten 1st through 4th grade class to sit, that was a 20-minute exercise you did. They were totally engaged the whole time, and they learned all of echoing, statuing, could recognize the words.
Here's something really funny that happened, is we had a 7th grader who just sort of happened on us in the hallway, and he's, I know you. do you remember in first grade, you did that thing, we were videotaping, so he said you had these two little black things that were the microphones.
Yeah.
He said, and do you remember we did this, and we did this, and we did this? And that's from 7th grade down to first grade,
Right.
and he remembered so many details about it. So when education and when teaching and learning are really, really delivered powerfully, the kids remember it.
Oh, they
really
do.
remember
I
it.
did. I actually went to the kindergarten class and I tried that. We were sitting around and we were trying to get quiet. And I said, "How many of you know what echo is?" And they, "Well, I do." And I said, "Well, can you echo with more than just your voice?" They said, "No." And so I started doing this, and they started doing this, and we said, so it's an easy concept to use, and the kids enjoyed it. They loved it.
And the teachers, it's a different way of thinking, actually, thinking about going about your teaching,
Right.
because it's a delivery system. So you're delivering it in a different way through multimodal activities. And a lot of times there's a lot of stuff for them to do in the curriculum. And sometimes they feel like there's not enough time for the arts. There's not
Right.
enough time for the kids to get up and moving. But what we really stress in our professional development is that this is a delivery system. So you teach what you teach anyway. So
They were
just teach
singing
it
and
through.
dancing and
Right.
playing freeze tag, essentially.
and learning what they needed to learn in their curriculum. So the teacher then
Exactly.
takes whatever that strategy is. In this case, it happened to be statue and echo. And in the next part of the lesson, a little later in the week, they take it and apply it directly to their curriculum.
Yeah.
So, and when they're doing that, they do it with these things called studios, which are actually independent learning centers for the children. And they teach the children how to do that independent learning. It's not, okay, we'll put up this center and the kids are on their own.
Right.
The teacher actually sequentially teaches them how to do that so that they become independent learners.
Critical thinking is one of the components of Common Core, which is teaching children to look at something that they're doing and how is it perceived by other people, by other cultures, and also to be able to go find their own answers to solve their own problems. And I saw how that works when you start with the big groups and then they break up into smaller groups and apply what they have learned.
As teachers start to get really nervous about the Common Core because there's so much stress around it and
Yeah,
stress
the
around the
testing and
testing
that.
and all of that, we are flexible so that we can build in whatever they're going to need for the testing. But what's more important is that the Common Core is asking for kids to have the skills that they're going to need in order to live and work in the 21st century.
Exactly.
And we're building those skills. And so as the Common Core comes in, it only makes what we're doing even more powerful.
It's interesting you should say that because the smart board, you can see them, they can see you. A lot of job interview now are done by on the computer. What do you call that when you're speaking? Thank you, remote video conferencing. Thank you, Bob. And that's essentially what you're teaching them to be very comfortable with. And you know, by the time they graduate, goodness only knows where we're going to be with that. But it gives them the skills to go forward and be confident and comfortable with that, and interested and want to learn more about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's one more little benefit of that video conferencing, and that's that you have the great big screen, but you also have a small screen.
Yes.
That's the computer screen, and we're finding that autistic children look at the small screen. They pay attention to that small screen, and they think you're speaking right to them. So they're right there, and they're doing all of the activity, and it's not with the whole group, but they're just really focused in. So that's another thing, an unintended consequence.
Well, and that is like a special assistant just for that child on a computer screen. That's pretty amazing.
But I think you will find that if instruction is really powerful and multimodal, the number of children who are diagnosed as special learners, as special needs children,
Right.
are less. Because more children are being reached. We're delivering instruction in multiple ways.
Right. I mean, one of them that I wasn't aware of that you explained to me about keeping rhythms, learning how keeping rhythms.
Keeping a steady beat.
Yeah, when you can do a steady beat and play the games such as patty cake or any of the other games, that actually helps children read. And if they're not reading, if you can teach them how to do that, the next thing comes reading easier and better and faster.
So
There's a lot of that, yeah.
Every strategy that we use is research-based. So that's one piece of research. It says children who can't keep a steady beat have real problems reading. As you teach them to keep the steady beat, their reading gets better,
They're-
they're able to track more. So, okay, if that's true, and we can find 20 different strategies like that that are research-based. We have research that says, if you do this, it helps. If you do this, it helps. And it's fun, and it's motivating,
It's-
and the teacher loves it.
I did my own little research once again, and I was teaching the kids to do peas porridge hot in the kindergarten class where I volunteer. And it's true, the kids who are reading already just got it immediately, and
That's
the kids that didn't had little problems with it. So I'll be doing peas porridge hot and patty cake with them a whole lot throughout the next year.
That's right. It's
Yeah.
all about that crossing the midline sort of
It's-
thing.
yes,
It's all about that.
exactly.
And kids don't get an opportunity to do that. You know, they don't get the opportunity to do
Right.
that, to build those pre-reading skills that they really need.
And the amazing thing about it is the kids see it as play and as fun. And I know that you can do rote learning with those patterns too, because there are some things that have to be remotely learned, such as to make life easier, multiplication tables, dates of major historic events, just to help organize them. And I remember you telling me that you
Sure,
can
but
do that.
why not? If you're doing those multiplication tables and you have a stick and you can do tap, twice, pass, sit, and you're sitting in a circle, and everybody's got a stick, so they have to keep paying attention or they'll mess it all up. And then you're doing 1 times 4, 1 times 4, 1 times 4 is 4. And so they learn their multiplication tables that way. Then we've got flashcards, so they're watching the flashcards.
They
and
don't
they're doing
even know they're
No.
learning, and they're
And-
having a blast.
And that's what the magic is in this program. Is we always use the word intentionality all the time. So what we do is intentional. So everything is research based. So if we're doing that stick game and somebody walks in, why are you playing a stick game? And it's intentional. It's intentional to build skills.
And
in the
it's
kids.
research,
And
and
it's
you know that it
research-based,
works.
right.
You know that it works.
And we can answer the question, why?
Okay, so 6-7 years in the public schools of Bridgeport, you've seen a whole lot go on with our Board of Ed, with the state taking over, the state not taking over, the appointed superintendent, the elected school board. How have you survived that?
Well, we're not political.
Okay.
ABCD is our fiduciary agent. They work with the state, and they have worked very hard to get funding. But whoever has come to see our program, whether it be Chris Shays or Jim Himes or from the mayor's office or the Board of Education, when people come and see what we're doing, we're working with kids. We're doing what's right for kids. And it's not political. It doesn't matter. So politicians can do what they need to do. We're doing what's right for kids. The other piece is that we have a research arm who come in, and they're independent researchers. And so where there were other programs in Bridgeport that were in the schools, they didn't have any way to tell whether what they were doing was effective or not. We have a very, very strong research component, and they're telling us, they're giving us information. So we're doing formative research. They say, this is not working so well, we change it, we fix
Right.
it. This is working well. We've got statistically significant data that says what you're doing is working. That helps
And
a lot.
what also helps is teacher feedback, because we have teachers who, we've been in several schools in Bridgeport. We've been in different configurations over the 7
Right,
years.
yeah.
We have teachers who we are no longer working in their schools, but they still write me. I'm still using it because they believe in it so much. And I think it's been word of mouth, and just how happy the teachers are to actually have this in their classroom, and how much they love to teach using it.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we have about a minute left. Let's put their email addresses up, how to contact these people. You do have a website,
Yes.
totallearninginstitute.com, correct?
That's correct.
So if you want to do more research, see more videos, get more data, totallearninginstitute.com. So in summary, tell me what you'd like to let people know who are watching.
Total Learning has been developed over the past 7 years. We are not only in Bridgeport, but in other places. There are 50 teachers who are using Total Learning Digital this year and helping us make it fabulous. In the spring, it will be ready to be used in other schools, and we're very excited about it. The teachers are happy, the kids are happy, we are happy.
Fantastic. Well, I can't thank you enough for being on the show with us. It has been a pleasure, and best of luck to you, because I think it's a great, worthwhile program. Briefly, just for 1 second, Bridgeport has a lot of poverty. Tell me how this works in the schools that have more affluent children that have parents that involved. Can you sum that up very briefly? How this would be applicable across the board in all kinds of schools?
Sure. Bridgeport has children who live in poverty, but they're children. They come, they come cognitively intact. They need support, but this works with all children, and
So it
it
doesn't
enriches
matter.
the lives of all children. It's what's right in education as well
It's
as
what's
right for
developmentally
kids.
appropriate for children.
Fantastic. I could not agree more. People, total learning actually does do what's right for the child and put the child first. We're going to take a break now real quick, and we'll be joined. I'm sorry? We're going to play the video as we fade out, and in about 4 minutes, Lenny Grimaldi is going to be joining us.
Over the phone.
Over the phone. So stay tuned.
Thank you.
Children are our natural resource. We believe in their curiosity, their imagination, and their ability. We want them to succeed, learn, engage, be excited, and be safe. We want them to learn to think for themselves and be self-motivated. We want them to have a passion for learning and life. And we need for them to all have equal opportunity to achieve and become productive, innovative, thoughtful members of our society and culture. Total Learning Digital makes the difference. Imagine a classroom where children are actively, happily engaged in their learning, developing skills that will allow them to be independent and risk-taking learners. Learning is driven equally by a passion for excellence and the joy of creating something new. Teachers work collaboratively, learning new ways to engage learners and deliver curriculum. Parents are involved in the school and classroom and receive support to help their children learn. Why? Because research tells us that all these factors